And while we were all asleep in the early hours of this morning, 2 NASA astronauts were supposed to blast off from Florida in a test flight to the International Space Station.
But 2 hours before launch, the mission was postponed because of safety concerns regarding an oxygen valve. Here is what NASA had to say.
But all I want to say first is that good things are worth waiting for, and we'll get a chance to see that rocket and spacecraft lift off the pad here soon. It was really impressive to watch the launch team as the issue popped up. The count had been going very smoothly, and they spotted the issue. They followed their flight rules and made the decision to scrub so that they could do some more troubleshooting and decide what we were going to do next.
Well, we're joined now by Dr. Chris Copperwheat, who's an astrophysicist at Liverpool John Moores University. Good morning.
Good morning.
So should we all be desperately disappointed by this delay?
Not really. This is a minor bump in the road. They have to be very careful about safety. This is it was a sort of a stuck, sort of oscillating valve in the rocket. So the rocket is a well-established rocket. It's been used for many years. The bit we're interested in is the spacecraft on top. Now, they're looking at it now. I've heard various dates for when they might launch again. It might be as soon as tomorrow if they have to replace the valve in the rocket, maybe at the weekend. But this, I think, is a minor speed bump. The more interesting problem is the delays, really, for Boeing that have taken it so long to get to this point when they're on the launch pad.
Why has it taken so long?
Well, that's an interesting question. So let me sort of take you back for the history. I mean, we're talking about the capability to get astronauts into low Earth orbit, so visiting the space station, that sort of thing. We're not talking about going to the moon here. And that always used to be the job of the space shuttle, when we were all younger. But after the space shuttle disaster, that fleet was retired. And then US and European astronauts were reliant on Russian rockets to get there. And for reasons that are now very clear, that wasn't a tenable situation going forward. So NASA basically they opened this up to the commercial sector, and they funded 2 companies. One was SpaceX, which was a new sort of upstart. They gave them more than £2 billion to develop a rocket solution, and then they gave even more money, $4 billion to Boeing. Dollars, I should say, dollars. $4 billion to Boeing, and Boeing is a much more established space company. But for Boeing, it's taken much longer to get to the position when they can launch. So SpaceX has been visiting the ISS for many years now for a cheaper cost. So there's some interesting questions here about how these companies operate. So Boeing has a legacy in space going all the way back to the Apollo missions. But this is a different way of operating. So the past cooperations between government organisations like NASA and Boeing have been on what you call a sort of a cost-plus basis, where the taxpayer assumes the risk. When there's overruns in cost and that sort of thing, we pay more, or the US taxpayer pays more. But they did this for a fixed price. And a small, nimble company like SpaceX, they can operate with that. It's a different sort of project management. And for Boeing, they built up this sort of technical debt from all of the waypoints that led to big delays towards the end. So they're quite late. But they probably learned a lot along the way, I think.
It's interesting, isn't it? There's the science, there's the financial side of it. There's also the human side of it. I keep thinking about those 2 guys, the astronauts on board, ready to take off, and then, no, sorry, not today, might be tomorrow, might be the weekend, might be a few months' time. That, on a human level, that must be really hard to deal with.
Absolutely. They're strapped in, they're on top of this huge firework that someone's about to light the fuse, and then it's all cooled off. So, yeah, the highs and lows in terms of the adrenaline swings must be amazing. But that's why they pay them the big bucks. And they're ex-Navy pilots. So I think they're used to missions being scrubbed, as they say.
Scrubbed, yeah.
So,
one of the fascinating things about this is, our images of people in space are now, they feel quite old now, don't we? Certainly when you think about people walking on the moon, those images now look really very dated because it was so long ago, those original ones. The technology is so different. The next time that happens, it's going to look quite different because the suits are smaller, the gloves are smaller. Everything is changing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And with our sort of imaging technology, we'll get much better pictures as well. But we're in a whole new era. I mean, ultimately, I've talked about the delays, but this is really positive at the moment because now we have many competing commercial companies pushing things forward. And we're in the era of space travel now where it doesn't belong to governments. It belongs to private enterprise. And That's when you see the investment, when you see companies getting involved, when they see a sort of profit motive, that's when things are driven forward. I mean, we think of Christopher Columbus as this great explorer, but he was trying to open a trade route. He was looking to make money, and it's when these opportunities open, and there are so many opportunities in space. I mean, we heard just a few minutes ago about the satellite imagery of Lake Windermere, the biodiversity of environments. It's so intrinsically linked in our lives, the space economy, and very important for the UK as well as all the major economies.
And in terms of voyages into space, what are the ones that excite you in the years ahead?
The thing that really excites me, as I'm sure excites everyone, is the return to the moon.
Is it going to happen?
I think so, yes. I mean, it's been talked about for years, as long as I can remember, since I was a small boy. Presidents have had this aspiration, but now it really is happening. The technology is there. There is the competition again. So there are other national governments like China, for example, who want to do this, and this drives the sort of the political will to do it. And for me, the thing that's most exciting about the return to the moon is if you look at the crews they're selecting, the first crew for the first flyby, which is due to happen, there is the first female astronaut to go on a flyby. They'll be the first African-American astronaut. So NASA's promise was always that they came in peace for all mankind. That was the promise of the Apollo mission. And now that's really happening, and the kind of the inspirational impact of that, I think, on the generations who are going to see this happen, to see that, any of us, could be part of this wonderful journey is very exciting.
So look different and feel different, Chris.
Yeah,
thank you.
Look like us.
Great to see you. Thank you as ever.
My pleasure.
Thank you.